Hey guys, Drew here over at RevHiker Outdoors, and got a product review for you. Now, recently I've had a few companies send me some stuff to do some testing on, and this is one of them. This is from Clean Flame, and this is called their Rapid Fire. And now, just before I get going, I want you to know that I'm not getting paid by these guys. They contacted me on YouTube and asked me if I would do some testing for them. They would send me some samples and I would do testing. There was no promise of a glowing review or anything like that. This is the first time I'm opening them. It's going to be the first time I'm using them, and I will give you a 100% honest review. Now, I do thank them for sending it to me, and let's just see how this goes. So basically what they are, this is, they make a couple different products. This is one of their fire starters. Now they say that this is cleaner, greener. Basically, let me just give you a rundown of what these are. This is a fire starter, and inside you're gonna find some of this stuff, which is basically when you go to the supermarket and you find the waxed cardboard that all the you know, like fruits and stuff are delivered in. Those are like hard to kind of dispose of, and these guys had an idea to take them and basically recycle them, shred them up, and make a fire starter out of them. So it's waxed cardboard, so the wax is obviously going to make it burn longer, and you know, one of their big claims to fame is that it's very earth friendly because they're recycling. I'm not like a huge tree hugger, hippy dippy, you know, all that stuff, but I do believe in taking care of the earth that God gave us. I think that's laid out in the Bible, that we're supposed to rule over it with wisdom and you know, not destroy it. So I think this is cool. You know, I think as far as that's concerned, this is pretty cool. Instead of going to a landfill, I can go to some outdoorsmen. Now they advertise this for fireplaces, wood stoves, barbecues, campfires, and survival. So I want to test it for the survival thing. Now, each one of these little packets that they give you is 1 ounce, so they're really not heavy. I mean, and as far as bulk, they pack pretty flat, really not going to be too much of an issue there. And so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to light one with a Ferro rod, and then I'm going to try it with some matches, and then obviously a lighter is going to do the trick. But I just want to see how these things burn, and I've got a little bit of, not tinder, I made sure not to get tinder, this is more kindling, and I want to see how this stuff will do, and what kind of burn time you're going to get out of one of these 1 ounce packets. So let's just do that first. I'm gonna try the Ferro rod first. Now, for the purpose of the Ferro rod, I grabbed a piece of bark off of a dead tree, and I'm going to try to use that almost like a little arbor. So bear with me here, and we will try to get the job done. And today, to throw the sparks, I'm going to be using my my homemade knife. And I think I've got a video on this, but I made this out of a file and some micarta that I had left over from my days as an aircraft mechanic. And it's got a pretty nice spine on there. So anyway, let's see what it'll do with a Ferro rod. If my Ferro rod wants to work. There we go. Okay, so it looks like that's more than doable with the Ferro rod. Now, their instructions say to wait 30 seconds before you start piling wood, or 30 seconds or until it's fully engulfed. I'm going to break the rules just to see how good this stuff is. Just start whomping some of this stuff on top of there, seeing how she works. See if it'll get stuff of this size going. Now that wax should have a pretty good, should extend the burn time quite a bit. Now the other thing they say is these things are waterproof, so if this outside shell gets wet, you can empty out the cardboard and, you know, the waxed cardboard, and that should light as well. So let's see how. So far, I think this is pretty good. It's hard to see with the camera angle, and I'm not interested in putting my camera directly over the flame, but I can see how the it's actually burning quite well inside there. The wax is really extending the burn time in that, which is pretty cool. That was relatively easy to get lit, and so far I kind of like that, man. As far as like quick, easy, and cheap tinder, and this stuff is pretty cheap. And I'll put a link for their website so you guys can get prices. I'm not going to quote all kinds of prices. I'll let you just go right to their stuff. But so far, man, I'm liking this quite a bit. You can see this paper is just starting to get burnt on the one side, and that's working pretty well. I'm liking that. Very good. Alright, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Let that kind of just burn off in the background. And we're going to go through and make a scenario where this got all wet. Okay, let's just say it was all wet. Got snow all in it. I'm going to need this fire later to warm up my hands. So that's basically, that's going to be pretty hard to light that shell. So what I'm going to do is peel this stuff open. And try to just light that, just that piece, with the ferro rod. This might be a little harder without something beefy underneath it, so I'm going to slip that underneath there, just so I've got a little base. I'm having a little harder time. Number one, my base is not nearly as stable. Oh, fail. Okay, well, I'll give this one more try. Now everything is wet. Well, this is mostly probably my fault because I don't have a good stable base. So I'm going to try lighting this stuff with some matches instead. See how this does. Okay, so we can see that with the match, that's going to light easy enough. And man, my knees are getting sore. So I think if you had a proper base like I did with the bark, I think you'd have a much better shot of getting that lit. Maybe I'll redo that. Knock this off here and start over again with a decent base. But actually, let me readjust this. You can see right here, there's still some of that cardboard left. It's still smoldering and burning. So as far as being long lasting, I would give it pretty good marks. Now let's get that somewhat centered. You can see, like I said, this stuff, it takes pretty easily. They shred it pretty nice, but it's really lasting quite a long time. It's the wax, I think, really helps. And one thing they say about the wax is that there's no chemicals. A lot of the little fire starters that you have are full of harsh chemicals, and one of the things that they advertise is that this is all food grade wax and there's really nothing that's gonna be harmful in there. So let's just move this out of the way. I'll let that continue to burn, and we'll check back in a minute. And I'm gonna open one of these up and try with the ferro rod again. And see how well the wax does kind of by itself. Or the waxed paper, excuse me. Not quite. There we go. Caught a little edge of it. So I think the paper is slightly easier to light than the actual waxed cardboard, but you know, with a decent base underneath, you can totally get that lit with really not much trouble at all. I'll fold that over and let this light. I think this is a pretty cool product. And like I said, guys, these guys are not endorsing me. They're not giving me a penny. They simply sent me this to do a test on. Let me go back here. Let's take a look at this stuff. Okay, that's the stuff that I just moved over, where I just lit it with the match. Look at how that is still burning. I mean, that's a pretty good flame, and that stuff is still ripping, and you can see the stuff all the way in the background. This stuff back here, that's the first fire that I made, and that stuff still isn't quite totally consumed. I think it burns really well. I think for a long-lasting fire starter, it's going to be pretty hard to beat. Let me widen this back out. And dang, here's the one that I just lit. I think this would burn long enough to really get some bigger pieces lit if you were having a really hard time finding some good tinder. And look at that, there's still unburnt stuff right down at the bottom. This wax really extends the burning time. Man, I think so far this stuff is doing pretty well. I'm kind of impressed. I've let that burn for a minute or two now. I'm gonna see if it'll light this that big chunk of stick that I threw on there. I'm pretty impressed so far, though, guys. You know, I think, let's go over. Yeah, so you can see it says if the packet ever gets wet, you can just open it up and light it. So that's what we did. Man, I think this stuff is pretty darn good. So far, you know, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, okay, it's a paper bag, that should work, but what if the paper bag gets wet? Well, the cool thing is since the cardboard is all waxed, even if it gets wet, the wax keeps the actual cardboard from getting soaked, and things are still gonna work as advertised. So I think as far as that goes, I think these guys did a pretty good job. I'm trying to think, I mean, really, you know, if I'm gonna find a downside for this, I would say it's the size. And the only reason I say that is because there are fire starters that are smaller. However, I don't think they're going to have this burn time. And, you know, these pack nice and flat, so if you're slipping these in, I mean, you could put 1 or 2 of these in your like first aid kit. Like I use a Ziploc bag. This would fit perfectly right in that Ziploc bag that I put my first aid kit when I'm hiking. And for a real emergency, this could totally be a great asset when you can't find good stuff. Or, you know, in all honesty, sometimes you're just so beat at the end of the day, you just want to let something rip, and you don't want to like have to fiddle around with things. If you don't want to bother getting the right tinder and doing all that stuff, I think these could be a good convenience item. I think certainly, you know, if you're going to be using these at home to just kind of throw one in your fireplace, yeah, I mean, I think these are kind of a no-brainer. The fire logs that you buy, some of them tell you not even to touch them because they have so much like chemical garbage in them. They don't even want you touching them with bare skin. These have no palm oil, no, you know, it's all recycled stuff. So I think they're pretty good, guys. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to do one more test and see how these things do. I'm going to basically cover this whole thing in snow, and I'm going to take out some matches here. I'm going to light one corner and see if this thing will burn off underneath the snow. I think that'd be a pretty decent test. Something that you really wouldn't normally ask a fire starter. You guys can see it's actually melting the snow away as it burns, and now the paper's burnt, but it's starting to get into this cardboard, and that stuff is really working pretty well. I don't know, I'm pretty impressed with that stuff. It might not light quite as easily as some others, but I think it does a really good job as far as burn time. So for car camping and your wood stove at the house, I think they're awesome. I think for hunting, I'm definitely going to throw a couple of these in my pack, and I think that's a pretty darn good thing. So what I'm going to do is just let this thing burn off, and I'm going to speed it up, and then I'll check back in at the end, guys. Okay, guys, so here's my final impressions on these things. I'm getting bored of watching this thing burn through snow. I'm gonna give this thing a great rating as far as I'm concerned. There is, however, one thing that I would suggest to the Clean Flame company, and it's sort of a criticism, but I think it's constructive. They make this, and then they make some bigger packets, from what I understand, and they're more like in a log form for logs like that, like in a fireplace. One thing I would say, I think you guys could greatly expand your business if you made these in much smaller packets. I would say if you took one of these packets and made it into thirds, something of that size, you could really do, it would just be excellent for backpacking. Because the one problem I see with this is it's actually huge for a fire starter as far as what most survival and bushcraft or ultralight backpacking, any kind of that thing is concerned. This thing is still burning through snow after, I think I started at right around like 19 minutes or 18 minutes. I'm at like 20, almost 25 now. So this thing has just been burning and burning and burning. And I think if you can't get a fire started with a flame that'll last that long, that's able to be lit with a match or a ferro rod, there's no hope for you. So anyway, what I think you guys should do is offer some smaller packets. I don't know how much that would entail, but that's just kind of my personal opinion. I think these would be even more marketable if you had them in smaller packets. So that's going to be my one and really only criticism. That, and there's a portion of the packet that's unsealed, and some of the stuff kind of falls out, and I don't know, it's a little bit of a pain when it kind of falls in your pack. I mean, that's a pretty small criticism, but The one part that's not sealed up does tend to leak out some of the shavings of the cardboard. Anyway, this thing is still just trucking through the snow, burning it away, and it's got a great flame. I think it lasts a good long time. I think it works excellently. Like I said, if you guys made smaller packets, I think we, I think we in the we people, we bushcrafters, hikers, survivalists, I think we would buy more of them, because the packets are kind of big, at least for my taste. But I think if you guys made them, maybe like 2 inches by 2 inches, or something of that nature, maybe 2.5, something like that, or maybe business card size, and I think that would be great, because you'd still get the light, and it wouldn't last quite as long, but it would fulfill the needs of the vast majority of people, because these are almost overkill. They do such a good job, they last so long. I think it's a little much. My only criticism, other than that, I think it's a great product. I thank the guys over at Clean Flame for sending me some to test. I think it's good stuff. And hey guys, I appreciate you watching. Hope this helps. I mean, this is definitely something I think you could totally add to your kit. I will be adding them to mine, if nothing else for bushcraft. I think it'd be really nice for bushcraft. The thing that I like the most about them is that they are relatively easily lit with a ferro rod, and that is a big deal, because if you can light something just with a spark, that to me is what constitutes it as pretty good tinder. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all my subscribers. I thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.